Hey everyone, it's Professor O'Callahan. I'm just checking in with you regarding your assignment to Betty and Barney Hill, um, alleged alien abduction assignment. Um, I hope you're coming along with that. It's not due until not this weekend, but the next weekend. But anyway, it's an unusual case. It's still talked about a lot. I put up some videos, some YouTube videos there. There's one, if you subscribe to Discovery Plus, it's on there. It runs about close to 2 hours. Um, but it's a strange case of Betty and Barney Hill in New Hampshire, September 19th, 1961. They're coming home from their honeymoon from Niagara Falls in northern New York, and also it spans to Canada. They visited the Canada side, and they wanted to get home to before the hurricane hit, Hurricane Esther. Um, but which is strange in itself, because why would you rush to go home? We know in New Orleans, if a hurricane is coming, you want to leave the city anyway. And stranger still, they left at night. They left according to the book from 1966, written by John Fuller, called Interrupted Journey. They left at 10:30 at night after getting something to eat. Wouldn't you leave at 10:30 in the morning? It's about a 4-hour drive, but it actually took. Barney says in the documentary that they arrived home at Portsmouth, New Hampshire, which is an hour above New York, an hour above Boston, on the coast, Atlantic coast. They arrived when the sun was coming up, so that's closer to 8 hours. They talk about in the documentary a missing time. There's always missing time component in these alleged abductions. Um, I put one up there too in the same module at the bottom. Travis Walton, he was gone for 5 days. Travis, like Betty and Barney Hill, didn't even know what happened until they underwent hypnosis, and then it came back to them that, hey, that missing time was attributed to being on board a spacecraft and actually being probed and experimented on and then released. Anyway, Betty and Barney Hill didn't do their hypnosis sessions until 2.5 years after they said they saw a spaceship on the night of September 19th, 1961, in central New Hampshire, off Highway 3, which is a very lonely 2-lane road. No lights overhead, no state troopers, no 7-Elevens, nothing. You wouldn't want to travel that kind of road in the middle of the night. There's no way. Also, add to it sleep deprivation. They both worked regular jobs. He was a postal worker. She was a social worker. They had regular daylight hours. So you wouldn't want to. It runs contrary to logic that you get on the road late at night. You're going to be sleep deprived. The longer it gets, and they stopped a few times along the way, and then they pulled off the road onto a dirt road, which is even worse. And at the end of it were aliens, supposedly, and they took them on board the spaceship and experimented on them and then let them go. Really strange thing, when they do recall that they were abducted, they thought, when they recall it 2.5 years later with the sessions, the hypnotic regressive therapy sessions in Dr. Benjamin Simon's office in Boston, Betty recalls that after they put a big needle in her navel to test for pregnancy, and she didn't want it, and she was screaming, and they said it's not going to hurt. Conveniently, the leader and the examiner both spoke English. That's just not credible. Um, Obviously, my stand is something happened to them that night, but it wasn't alien abduction. You can say whatever you want. You can say they did, or you can say they did not. They were not abducted, but you need proof. Don't waffle on it and say that they might have been. You have to state. You look at your evidence, which is out there all over the place, print, digital, and video, and then come forward and say, okay, um, they were not. So the body of your essay is going to be the evidence. Those are the evidentiary paragraphs. Okay, so it's a lot to look at. That's why I gave you enough time to do this one. We'll start another one after this one. This one's due. I'll put up another module and another brief video like this one to introduce you to your next essay. But right now, you're still working on the Betty and Barney Hill alien abduction essay. And it's a fascinating topic. And I put this up there in the class discussion and elsewhere in the Betty and Barney module, that there was so much going on that might influence Betty. I think she had an obsessive compulsive personality, and those personalities lock on to something and they don't give it up. It becomes their life, their purpose. Consider, too, these things. She was a social worker working with abused children. for the state of New Hampshire, and sometimes she had to put them in foster homes. That means they were seriously neglected and abused. So she had that in her head every day when she went home from work, and then on weekends, and you can't let that go. You're going to dream about it. She saw some very ugly cases, obviously, and then in the environment was all about space and space aliens. 2 atomic bombs were dropped on Japan to end World War II in the Pacific Theater. That was only 16 years previous. That was brand new to the world. Jet airliners, commercial airliners didn't hit the scene until 1958. That was brand new. Television was brand new from the mid-50s. Alien invasion movies were galore beginning in 1950, precipitated by the 1947 alleged spacecraft crash outside of Roswell, Mexico, in the desert, which was immediately covered up, hushed up. So what's going on? I mean, all these influences, and then by early 1960s, you had these all about space programs on TV. So you had The Outer Limits, Lost in Space, Star Trek, and others. So you were inundated with space aliens, visitation, and then of course that means that everybody was primed for space alien abduction. And people wanted to hear about it. The book from 1966, Interrupted Journey, was a bestseller. Why? Because it was brand new. Aliens and alien invasion, and now abduction. If you were living at that time and you were an adult, you'd want to say, tell me all about it. Now, if somebody told you that, you'd say, get lost, because you know it's a psychiatric condition. Dr. Benjamin Simon told him at the end of the sessions, which took place over a few months in early 1964, at the end he says, you are both suffering from a shared delusion and transference of Betty's nightmares and visions of abduction to Barney, and he kind of uploaded that and took it to be true. Their accounts about what happened in the separate rooms in the spaceship are a little different, and some of them were weird. Barney said that he saw an Irishman and a German Shepherd in the spacecraft as well, and that they didn't have mouths. Betty said they were chatty, and they spoke English. You see what I mean? There are all these contrary views. I mean, it's to me, there's no doubt it was a shared delusion. They were a married couple. When you're married, you're with each other all the time practically, and you're going to share thoughts, and your independent thinking kind of shrinks, or maybe even goes away altogether. They say marriage is the art of compromise. Well, you have to, yeah, big time. I think Betty I think Barney just went along with Betty, who was definitely obsessed with space. After the night of the 19th, 1961, she went to the library. She contacted authors who wrote about it because it was a brand new phenomenon. She contacted her sister. She contacted friends. Investigator from Pease Air Force Base, which was very close to Portsmouth at the time, and it had atomic bombs there. There was an atomic bomber group. They came to visit. Other investigators came to visit. Betty was very chatty. And then finally, it made that information through a friend of Betty's, made it to John Luttrell at the Boston Traveler. That's when the story hit. And they went along with it after that. They were they were popular. They were in popular culture. At first, Barney said he didn't want any popularity, but then he went along with it. He was on TV. There's a show, I think 1968, To Tell the Truth, I believe it is. And he was on TV. So Betty and Barney became part of popular culture. Anyway, I don't think it happened. You can think whatever you want. Check out all the evidence. Continue your research. If you have any questions, you can email me at docall@dcc.edu. That's at the top of the syllabus. That's the best way to get me. Everything we do is through Canvas, but don't message me through Canvas because it goes to my clutter box for some reason, and I don't check the clutter all the time. Anyway, good luck with your research, and check the due dates for the essay, and they're up there, and check to participate in the class discussion, and there's a short quiz up there as well. And I will talk to you again soon with another video and another essay coming up a little later on, certainly after this one is due. Take care and good luck. I can't wait to read your essays. It's a fascinating topic, still talked about 60 years later. Take care.